Hello, thank you for watching my channel today. My name's Sarah and my channel is called Your Tree Shelf. Today I'm going to film a haul video because I haven't done a haul for absolutely ages. I think January was the last time I did a haul video and it's quite busy therefore. This is the second time I recorded this. I recorded it a couple of days ago and then when I went to edit it, the microphone was making this horrible noise and you couldn't hear anything I was saying. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. It's a really beautiful day today. It's gorgeous outside and there are lots of children in gardens playing and you may be able to hear them, but that's just life. And my kids also may burst in at any point, but let's just go for it and see. So I've divided all the books into categories just because there's so many. So I have a list here. So I'm just gonna literally mention the titles of ones that I have already read and wrapped up because there's no point in me talking about them because I've already done the wrap-ups. So that would be I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel, Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow, Homesick by Jennifer Croft and The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell, all of which I read for the Women's Prize and bought for the Women's Prize. Not going to talk about those. Also the ones I still have that I bought on Kindle for the Women's Prize are Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver, Trespasses by Louise Kennedy, and Children of Paradise by Camila, I want to say Camila Grudova, is that right? So I've still got those, but I feel like we've talked about the Women's Prize so much that we don't need to be talking about it again at the moment. So I'm going to focus on the other books that aren't on the Women's Prize. So I'm going to first go for the ones that I got from the library. The first one is a book where, well, basically for both of these I was just browsing because I went to the main library in the city and I'd never really get a chance to go there and just browse, but I was in town on my own and I just thought I'd just like to have a little browse. Didn't want to go mad and get loads because then I get stressed and I've already got some books on reservation. I think Mercedes loved this book and that's why I got it. So this is Crow Lake by Mary Lawson. So this says, orphaned at a young age, the Morrison children grew close. Kate in particular worshipped her elder brother Matt. But as an adult, she barely sees those siblings who were once her entire world, and she cannot forgive Matt for what happened when they were younger. When she's called back to Crow Lake for a family occasion, she reluctantly returns to the place that was her home for so many years, and back to her childhood memories and the weight of their shared past. So yeah, sort of family drama where one person has left and comes back to face the consequences. And then the second one was a complete impulse cover buy. So we're full of, this is, should tell you what it is first, shouldn't I? This is Yabba Buena by Nina Lacour. I love the cover of this. It just totally grabbed my attention. So we're following two characters. One is Sarah and one is Emily. And Sarah is, she left home at a young age and she's had, I think, some trauma in her young life. And she has gone to work as a bartender and become very sought after as a bartender. And Emily has done lots of different college degrees and sort of abandoned them at different points because she doesn't really know what she wants to do. And she goes to work at a restaurant, really good sort of fancy restaurant called Yerba Buena, which I think is where Sarah is as well. And they sort of meet and their lives collide. And I don't know if it's like a romance or just a platonic collision of lives. But it just really intrigued me, the premise. And this just feels like a good summary because it's talking about a bar and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to that one. So those are the two books that I pulled from the library. Then I'm going to go through the ones that I actually bought myself. So I'm just going to get the ones I've got in physical copy first. So the next book is one that I pre-ordered and I'm so excited. I've got a signed special edition from Waterstones and this is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, who is now publishing actually as Rebecca F. Kuang, not R.F. Kuang. And look at the end pages. These are so cool. And like I say, it's a signed edition. I just was so excited this came through the post. This is completely different to anything that she's written before. So this is a story of a Chinese author called Athena Liu, I believe, yeah. And she has written a book, a fictional book, which I think focuses on the role of Chinese people in one of the world wars, or the experience of Chinese people. And she dies in an accident, and her friend, who is not Chinese, passes the work off as her own. And I know that the focus of this book is about racism in publishing, in the publishing industry. So I think that'll be really interesting as well. And I just really am a fan of R.F. Kuang. Like, I know when she wrote Babel, I loved that. I watched her give a lecture at Oxford online, and she was such a wonderful speaker. And so I'm really, really looking forward to reading this. I want to read it really soon. Then I bought the 4th volume of Heartstopper. I know that they're releasing some special edition hardbacks soon, and I was worried that I wouldn't be able to get the paperback edition, which is the same as the 1, 2 and 3 that I've got. So I bought this one to make sure that I've completed the set. And I think I'm right in saying that volume 5 is the final one coming out this year, I think. But we're about to get series 2 on TV, and I'm so excited for that because I love these so much. So this is the 4th instalment of Nick and Charlie's story in beautiful graphic novel form. The next book is one that I've had for a couple of months now and I really want to read, and this is A Spell of Good Things by Ayobami Adebayo. So I read Stay With Me when it came out in hardback and really, really loved it. And I would actually like to reread that as well. And this is her second book, A Spell of Good Things. So we are focusing on 2 characters, a young boy who I think is like a houseboy and from a really poor background, and then a young woman who is a daughter of a doctor and is from quite a wealthy family, and about a politician who takes an interest in the young boy and then how their lives collide. And it's kind of about set in Nigeria, about sort of haves and have-nots and what happens when their worlds come together. So that one, I just always say I'm really looking forward to reading this one, obviously because I bought them and it gets really annoying when I keep saying that, so sorry. I then had Shrines of Gaiety by Kate Atkinson. So Life After Life is one of my favourite books of all time, and I've only read that and The God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. I really don't know why. So I was really happy to buy this, and it's very beautiful with its foiled cover. It's very lovely. We're following a family in 1920s London after the end of the First World War, and the family are called, what are they called? The Corker family. So Nellie Corker is the mum. She has 6 children and she is wanting to advance them in the world. People are getting jealous. They're getting involved, I think, with some sort of the underbelly of London a little bit more, some crime and that kind of thing. And it's 1920s London. Just sounds really intriguing, and I really like it. She obviously covered that sort of time period with Life After Life, so I'm really looking forward to. See, I just said it again. Really looking forward to that one. It's boring. Stop saying it. The next one I pre-ordered was The Secrets of Hartwood Hall, which is by our very own Katie Lumsden, who is a booktuber, and this is her first novel. And it is set in the Victorian times. We're following a woman, I believe, Margaret Lennox, is that right? Yeah, Margaret Lennox in 1852. She's offered a position at Hartwood Hall as a governess. She's tutoring a young boy, and I think his mum is sort of, the village sort of judge his mum quite harshly, I think. And she gets involved in their family, and it's all quite kind of creepy and gothic. I think there's some sort of ghosty goings on as well. And I think that this will be very exciting, especially because Katie is known and loved to us all. The next book I'm so excited about because my dear friend Hannah bought this for me yesterday. So this is called The Things That We Have Lost by Sheena Patel. So yesterday I went to a really amazing book event with Jyoti Patel and Caleb Azuma Nelson, who wrote Open Water and now Small Worlds. I just finished Open Water and I absolutely adored it. Really, really adored it. And I can't wait to wrap that one up and tell you all about it. But I went to the event to see Caleb Azuma Nelson, and he was wonderful, but he was also with Jyoti. I'm just going to put some cushions behind my back because this isn't very comfortable. There we go, that's better. And so Jyoti actually went to the same university that I went to, and this is her debut novel, and it's set in it's about a Gujarati family living in Britain, and about the mum, her dad has died, so it's about Nick, who is his grandson, and Nick sort of coming of age, are going off to university, what it's like to leave home, about his relationship with his mum, the loss of his granddad, and also what it's like to be sort of Gujarati in Britain. And how Sheena Patel spoke about it, I really, really wanted to read it. And then when we were queuing up, my friend was buying both their books, and when we were queuing up for her to get them signed, she just spontaneously bought this for me as a gift, which was super kind. So I have got it signed and said hi to the author as well, which was lovely. And then the final book that I bought myself was Persepolis. So this is by Marjane Satrapi, and this is a graphic novel. It's about her life growing up in Iran, and it's really well known, but it's got tiny, tiny, tiny writing. So I'm going to have to read this in good light, possibly with some magnification. But I've only heard good things about this. And this was, I didn't actually even buy this. This was just on one of the community sort of book stands that people will set up in lockdown where books are free. So I just took it. So yeah, so it sounds like I bought a lot, but that was over a really long period of time. And then finally, we've got the books that people gave me to borrow. A really tiny book by an author who I've never read, but gets a lot of praise, which is Claire Keegan, and this is Small Things Like These, a really small book. This is set in 1980s in Ireland, and it's following a chap who is a coal and timber merchant. He's really busy, it's Christmas time, and he is doing his deliveries, and he's noticing like that the church has silenced quite a lot of people in the village. So he encounters the complicit silences of a people controlled by the church, and sees the past rising up to meet him. So I'm intrigued. I kind of get the feeling this might have child abuse as the theme, because it's talking about silence of the church, his past coming back to meet him. I might be jumping to conclusions, but it could be something to do with that. We will see. I may be way off the mark, but it's kind of nice that I don't know going in. One of my colleagues at work lent me 2 books. One of them is this one, which is a non-fiction called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals by Oliver Burkeman. This is basically the concept. So if we live for 80 years, that is 4,000 weeks, which sounds incredibly short, especially seeing as the weeks just fly past. I don't know if anyone else feels the same, but it starts with Monday and then it's Friday before you've even blinked an eye. And this is just about sort of making the most of your time on Earth, and I guess, yeah, just how to get the most out of it, really. So the question of how best to use our ridiculously brief time on the planet, which amounts on average to about 4,000 weeks. It says it's uplifting, engrossing and deeply realistic of how to face our finitude by embracing rather than denying our limitations and unlocking a more meaningful life. So yeah, that sounds really cool. I've heard lots of good things about it, and I am looking forward to it. And the same person at work lent me this one, which is a fiction book. This is The Bell in the Lake by Lars Mitting, and it was translated by Deborah Dorkin from Norwegian. So this is set in 1880 in Norway, in a really hard winter, and it's about a pastor who takes over a small church which is 700 years old, and the bells of the church are said to have supernatural powers. And then another person, the pastor basically wants to get rid of some of their old traditions and bring in more modern ways, which makes the people a bit suspicious, apart from this young girl who's called Astrid, and I think she kind of quite likes the thought of someone coming in and stirring things up a bit. And then there's an architecture student who also comes from Germany, and then when it's all kind of going a bit disruptive, the bells suddenly start to ring. So yeah, my colleague really liked this, but it sounds quite bleak. I'm currently reading The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave, and that's set in Norway in the 1600s, and it's a very grim life. So I don't know whether I want to read this quite so soon after that one. And then I have 2 books by Amor Towles, which my friend Hannah had 2 copies of both of them, so she let me have the spare copies. So I've got A Gentleman in Moscow, which everyone really raved about. It was on people's books of the year list in, I want to say 2020, maybe 2021. And So this is about a guy who's in a hotel, I believe. So he's a wealthy guy, escorted out of the Kremlin and goes through the doors of the Hotel Metropole, deemed to be an unrepentant aristocrat, and he's sentenced to house arrest indefinitely in his attic room. So that sounds kind of like, how can you make a novel out of someone's just in a hotel? But it's supposed to be really, really good. And then the next one is also by Amor Towles. So this is Rules of Civility, which is just had a 10th anniversary. So obviously it's not a new book. Set in a New York City jazz bar on the last night in 1937, Katie Content knew how to sneak into the cinema and steal silk stockings from Bendel's, how to type 80 words a minute, that you can still lose yourself in a Dickens novel, so everything's going to be fine, and what she learns over the year. I quite like the style of the blurb. So I have no idea more than that what that's about. So that's all of those ones. And then I do have a couple of audio books. Let me just check my little list here. Not so little list, it's actually a massive list. So the three audiobooks that I've bought. One is I'm listening to already, that is A Place for Us by Fatima Farheen Mirza, and it's about an Indian family who've moved to America. They've come together for the eldest daughter's wedding, and the son has been cast aside from the family, and he's come back for the wedding, and it starts with the wedding and then it goes back in time to when they were kids and even before they were born, and we start learning about this family, the relationships in the family, and I don't have a clue at the moment why he was cast out of the family, but I'm really, really loving the book and what it's like to be first. So the parents are first generation immigrants into America from India, and the children are very much growing up with very traditional, quite strict parents in a country where their peers live a very different life to them. So it's really interesting to hear what that's like, and I'm really, really enjoying that so far. I've also got, I think this was a 2-for-1, How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbue, which is about a fictional African country where I think everything's going fine until an oil company pitches up and decides that they want to start using the land of the people who own the land and who live there for their own sort of capitalist gains and start ruining everything. So that sounds fascinating. And then the final one is a sequel. So last year I read The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper, and it was one of my books of the year, and I listened to it on Audible. And this is the sequel. This is The House with the Golden Door, and it's basically following some sex slaves in Pompeii in ancient times, but obviously before the volcano buried the whole town. And yeah, we're following a group of women who are enslaved as sex workers, and their lives and their kind of master, and how they're trying to sort of make a better life for themselves, and escape if possible. And I just loved The Wolf Den, and I'm really hoping The House with the Golden Door is going to be just as good. I think it's going to be a trilogy, and so there will be one more book. So that's everything. My whole list, my very big list of everything that I acquired between February and May. So if you've read any of these books and you'd like to tell me what you thought of them, that would be lovely. If you would like to read any of them, if they're new to you and you want to tell me your thoughts, that'd be great. Tell me what you've been hauling, what you've been reading, anything you've particularly loved, anything you think I will love. And I hope everyone's enjoying this glorious weather. And I will speak to you all soon. Bye.